Hello, everybody. So, as I have discussed before, I love the Vampire Diaries. So, what I have decided to do is to live off that momentum and that love. I decided let's talk about the seasons and then we're going to rank them. In my opinion, what I feel is the best based on, and I'll explain how my ranking system is going to work. And then I'm also going to explain like my notes and what's happening here. Okay. So, and this is our lovely little whiteboard for handy dandy notes and handy dandy helpfulness. So here we go. Okay. So, the Vampire Diaries. Why I think I've talked about why I love this show, so let's just get into it. Okay, season 1. Actually, I want my pointer marker too. Season 1. We basically get the introduction. We meet our main characters, Elena Gilbert, her friends, Caroline Forbes, Bonnie Bennett, Matt Donovan. And then we meet our, two brothers, Stefan Salvatore and Damon Salvatore. But I also wrote our conflicts. So, like, what is the conflict of the season? That is also kind of like my criteria for like what made it a good season. So season 1 was essentially, the conflict was, I'd say, opening the tomb / vampires / Catherine. Now, when I say that, I mean the big conflict was Damon wanted to try and get Catherine out of the tomb. So this is also going to contain spoilers if you have not watched the show. And if you haven't, if you just want to watch just for funsies, that works too. But Damon wanted to get Catherine out of the tomb, but oopsies, she wasn't there. So instead, they unlocked all the tomb vampires who hate the Salvatore brothers and also hate the town because, their ancestors trapped them in a tomb for 100+ years. C'est la vie, am I right? But I also have Catherine as like a little bit into season 2. So some of these kind of like go into the next season. So season 2, you still have Catherine as like our main like antagonist. She is for many seasons to come. But so Catherine is still around come season 2. But now we're trying to find this moonstone. And this moonstone is important because it turns out there's an original vampire, well, a family of original vampires, including Klaus Michelson. And Klaus Michelson wants the moonstone so then he can become a hybrid. And you can't read my notes. Hybrid is right there in between season 2 and season 3. And so the big thing here is, oh no, are we gonna get the moonstone? And we gotta like intervene and not have Klaus get Elena to do the spell. So then he becomes a hybrid. Well, he gets the moonstone, does the spell, kind of becomes a hybrid. I say kind of because now we get into season 3. Season 3 is still a hybrid situation in the beginning. So Stefan is with Klaus. Again, I'm not going to get into nitty gritty, but essentially Stefan made a deal with Klaus, like, hey, save my brother, like, werewolf bite is going to kill him, save him. Well, the hybrids are dying. Turns out he needs Elena's blood to keep the hybrids living. Finds that out, but didn't know that before. But we also get our next conflict, our next antagonists, which are the originals, because they wake up Cole and Finn and Rebecca and all the siblings and the mom and the dad. So, and of course Catherine comes back. But then at the end of the season, Elena becomes a vampire. So that's where we go into season 4. Season 4, the big like conflict here is, oh no, Elena's a vampire. How are we gonna get through this one, boo-boo kitty? Well, then it turns out she's got like a sire bond thing going on, and of course it's with Damon. So this gets like a big ooh in between like Stefan and Elena's relationship. And this is where, even before season 4, you can tell there's some romantic tension with Damon and Elena. This isn't new. But the big thing with season 4, like, what is our goal? They want to get the cure. So to get the cure, they also run into Silas, which then gets us into season 5. So with season 5, we run into Silas. Well, Catherine has the cure in her system, as we saw at the end of season 4. And Silas wants the cure so then he can die with Amara, who is his longtime love. And, well, turns out that still won't happen anyway because he's still supernatural. She really wasn't. And she is also the anchor to the other side. After we get after that part of the season with the whole how the other side was created, how the original, how the cure was created, I'd say, Katsia, all that good stuff. Then we get to meet the Travelers. Yippee. I didn't like the Travelers. The Travelers were not stupid. I thought they were an interesting concept. Great execution, poor follow through. The leader was kind of interesting. We'll get into that later when I rank this stuff. Then we get into season 6 because at the end of season 5, Bonnie and Damon are basically stuck on the other side because Damon's like, no, I'll stick around for, well, not really, but in my mind, I'll stick around with Bonnie. Bonnie's not going to be alone. So season 6, Elena forgets about Damon. First half is about Bonnie and Damon being on the other side, trying to get out. They meet Kai. Kai's a psychopath. Damon gets out, Kai gets out, Bonnie is still there but trying to get out. Then the second half is Damon and Stefan's mom is there. Interesting. But we also meet heretics. Heretics are basically supernatural beings that are half witch, half vampire. And so how that works is we learn about basically you have to be a special sort of witch in order for this to happen to you. Mostly it's like part of the Gemini coven where you are like a siphon for magic instead of just like having magic. It's kind of hard to explain, but the show does a better job of explaining it to you. So essentially you've got to be a little bit different when it comes to magic. So like taking, like being, like taking, they take magic instead of just doing it, you know? And so that's how, since they're a little bit different on that sort of witchness, that's how they're able to become a heretic or a vampire also. So the main conflict there is Stefan and Damon are trying to like, you know, hey, this is our town, like you guys are kind of taking it over because the mom now has a new family and it's just a big hoopla. She's got like this new dude she likes named Julian. Julian's the ass. Which then leads us into season 7. Now, I'll be honest, when I got to season 6 to, I'd say a little bit into 8, I was like, okay, things started to blur for a minute because a lot of this like is joined together because you know, the heretics, when it comes to like Julian and that, they're afraid of, in season 7, we learn a little bit more about Reina. who is I'll say a special hunter. There's a thing called a phoenix stone that a lark is looking for to potentially bring back his dead wife, who is a supernatural being. She was a witch, and he was hoping to potentially bring back, his wife with this phoenix stone. That's not how the phoenix stone works, but he didn't know that. But at the same time, like, don't look into things that you don't know how they work. But we get Reyna, and then with that we get the armory, and then with that I put the stone, because it's a lot of things in one season, and it's just all there. And that's where probably I'm ranking, like, even before I do this, season 7 is probably like my least favorite season. Just because of this. Like, it's all happening all at once. And like, we learn about the armory, but at the same time, it's just like stuck on you, and we don't learn enough about the armory. Does that make sense? It does to me. So, but they resolve all that conflict. Julian dies. Most of the heretics die, honestly. And then we get into season 8. And at the end of season 8, we meet a new supernatural being that we really hadn't met or even come close to meeting before. It's a new variation. It's a siren. I didn't think we would meet something like this, but I think it led to the possibility because of the fact of almost like a witch in a way, of telepathic or telekinetic abilities. That's how they made it more seen than essentially like more of a mermaid sort of situation. But you get sirens. You find out some sirens are working with Cade. Cade is actually the leader of hell. And then, if you really didn't want to know the ending of the show, but spoilers, because I'm going to say it anyway, I wrote Old Foes. And when I say that, I was excited to see some of these characters again. Actually, both of these characters again. Catherine and Kai. I say this because I loved Kai's commentary. Kai was an interesting character in the sense of he had some funny things to say. Catherine was an interesting, I would say, case study in the sense of she had been around, since season 1, and you not start to get attached to her, but not saying I condone her choices in the things that she has done in her life. But the thing is you have to commend this woman to a degree. She has been running and has yet, been able to successfully do some of the things that she's been able to do in her life. Of course, again, do not condone half of the things she has done, but you still gotta somewhat applaud her. Like, she's been around the block, and yet she then became ruler of hell. You kind of gotta, like, brava. You've lived a life, honey. Good for you. Good for you. So, and then the show ends, and then we get into, legacies, and, that's led with the originals as well. So, as I've said, season 7, probably my least favorite season. And why I say that is just a lot's happening, and none of it really stuck with me. It was nothing new, nothing new in the sense of like, ooh, like, I'm really intrigued, I really love this, something, stuff like that. I really didn't like it. Season 4, I also have to really put it towards the bottom. Of course, this is like a lot of me having to talk through this as well as me. So like, 1, I'm just gonna put this, like, 7 is 8. 4, I really didn't like the whole, yes, it was a part of the books as well, Elena becoming a vampire. The storyline about it, and like having the whole sire bond, and I don't know how they went about going for the cure and everything. I loved how they brought Silas in. I just did not love season 4. Season 4 was not for me. Like if I go back and rewatch a season 4 is when I'm like, oh, I have to watch season 4, you know? So I'm gonna put that at 7 because I said, this is me, this is how I feel. Then I would have to say, see, this is where it gets really hard because some of these seasons, so I would then have to probably say it's either between 5 and 8 as when it comes to like number 6, because with 8 we get a new concept, but I also feel like it was kind of rushed at the same time because I love a new concept. I love when new things are developed and like discussed when it comes to a supernatural like concept in a way, but at the same time I think they were also trying to give fans satisfaction. So like having Catherine become, you know, ruler of hell after Cade, and kind of giving us closure when it comes to, you know, the death of Stefan, or, you know, the happy endings of some of our other beloved characters like Bonnie or whomever. So I am going to put season 8 as number 6. I am then going to put, I believe, I have to think about this for a minute because now it's a toss-up between 5 and 6, because I loved the idea of the heretics when it comes to, because I really love witches. I love hearing about the lore and learning new things about the witches. However, I just don't think it added much to the story though. So I'm going to put season 6 as number 5. Silas and the Travelers is probably going to be rated as number 4. And then seasons 1 through 3 are always the hardest ones for me because I toss up between 1. You know what? No. I'm going to say season 3 is always number 1 to me. I know I'm going out of order, but let me explain. Season 1, so much happens, and I love it for that. You could honestly, I don't want to say that. I mean, you could, but you could honestly skip out on number 1. You need to watch number 2, but you could skip out on season 1 and not miss too much. You would miss backstory, of course. You would miss some character development when it comes to Caroline, for sure, because she grows a lot between season 1 and season 2. And even, you know, into season 3, but definitely with season 1 and season 2. But season 3, I love the originals. I love meeting the family. You see a lot of, I would say, development when it comes to Elena and Damon's relationship, but you can also see her conflict when it comes to not wanting to get rid of Stefan in her heart. You see a bond grow when it comes to Klaus and Caroline. You see just a lot happens in season 3, and that's why I adore it. And that's when 2, you know, Elena essentially becomes a vampire. That's when the twist comes at the end of the season where it's like, she's not dead, she's a vampire now. And then that's where 4 is then ranked 7. Because I didn't like that, but I liked the twist. She didn't become she wasn't a crap vampire in 4 or in 3. So now it's just between season 1 and season 2 as to, I think it's 3 and then honestly season 2. So how I'm ranking them is season 3, number 1. I think it will always be number 1 to me. It depends on the day when it comes to season 2 and season 1, because I find it very essential sometimes for I love season 1. Like season 1 I rewatch just to relive that nostalgia and to have like, oh, what was this like when I first watched it, you know? Cuz I feel like I get transported back into like 2008 time frame, and I'm like, oh, I feel like a middle schooler again. I don't want to feel like that, but the good times when I'm at home watching my comfort show. Um, and then with season 2, of course, I enjoyed Catherine because she was such a complicated character, and you learn her backstory, you learn about her, I wouldn't say necessarily her relationship with the original family, but what was her relationship like with Klaus and Elijah. And then, you know, I enjoyed Silas, so that's why I give number 5, season 5, you know, number 4 spot, because I enjoyed Silas. I like learning about the historical aspects when it comes to, okay, you know, witches were part of the travelers before, and then they, you know, obviously diverted off, found different ways to do things, and, you know, obviously I didn't enjoy the travelers when talking about the season, but it wasn't too bad. Like, they had a place, it made sense. I just didn't enjoy them. Number 5, I give it to season 6 because I enjoyed learning about the other side. You meet Kai, again, another interesting character, and learning how does he fit into this story? Why is he here? It's very interesting. And then meeting the heretics, again, that's my personal opinion. I enjoyed the heretics. Some of them. I thought some of them were lambs, and I was like, they need to be protected with all their hearts. Season 8, I give number 6 because it is, with what they had and what was given to them, it wasn't a bad conclusion. It wasn't a bad wrap up. Of course, if certain things were different, I think there would have been more seasons. 2, I think it would have been, of course, explained more. Like season 5, I'm trying to think how to explain this. Like, I believe it was 6 to, like, there was supposed to be more seasons than 8, but, you know, Nina decided to leave, and so, you know, they had to wrap up with what they had. Audience, you know, viewership obviously wasn't there if they didn't continue. So, you know, having old foes, kind of wrapping up ties, that makes sense to me. Kind of having this idea of sirens and Cade, that makes sense to, like, the story made sense. It made sense to me. Was it the best executed plan? No, but what are you gonna do? 7, I give to Elena being a vampire and finding the cure. The season wasn't super duper enjoyable to me. I think the only remarkable thing in that season is them trying to find the cure, and then Bonnie like learning expression magic, which is basically dark magic. Those were the highlights of that season for me. And then season 8 is, you know, ranked last as season 7 because I almost forgot about this season entirely. I thought it was more of season 6 than it was season 7. So that's all I have to say. Reina was an interesting character in you know, why she came to be and why she was important. Again, I think maybe with more time, and again with the armory whole situation, I think maybe with more time it would have been important. I don't know. I didn't care for the season. That's my opinion. Feel free to leave your opinions down below, but this is kind of my ranking. This is how I feel This is based on like what seasons would I rewatch, what seasons do I like, what scenes do I rewatch the most from, you know, maybe these particular seasons. I rewatch a lot of Silas clips. I rewatch a lot of Kai clips. I rewatch a lot of this. So, and then I watch Stefan's funeral. So do with that what you will. That is how most of this is ranked. So feel free to leave your comments down below. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.